In the last video, we went over the full life of a mysterious character known as Alys Rivers. My buddy Jay Cruz left a comment saying that he prefers to know everything, and I'm with him. What happened to Alys Rivers and her child? Some fans believe that Alys Rivers was actually Melisandre of Asshai, and there are reasons for that which we will go over, but I want to do a comprehensive analysis of this, and that starts with an important counter-argument about witches in general. There were rumors that Lady Rohan Weber was a witch, a poisoner, and worse. Some claimed that she used the dark arts to kill her husbands and brothers, but it wasn't true. Rohan's first husband was her father's squire. He was ridden down upon the red grass field at just 12 years old. At the time, she was just 10. At 13 years old, she was married to a 54-year-old man who died of a chill. Her third husband choked on a chicken bone, and her fourth died of the Great Spring sickness. Since 4 of Lady Rohan Weber's husbands died, there were rumors that she was a witch, a poisoner, and worse. But the truth was that she was just a girl whose father married her off 4 times starting at the age of 10. And all her husbands died. That's it. Nothing more. She was not the only person to be mislabeled as a witch. There was a woman named Poxy Jane Poor who was a captain of the Poor Fellows, a group who rebelled against Mago the Cruel. 3 of Mago the Cruel's septons declared that Poxy Jane was a witch, but there was no evidence of it. They might have just said that since she was their enemy. Regardless, it didn't stop them from burning her alive. Another great example is Septon Barth. Septon Barth was nothing more than a scholar, but his enemies always claimed he was more sorcerer than Septon, and King Baelor the Blessed had all Barth's writings destroyed. What I am getting at is that people sometimes have thrown around the term witch and sorcerer when it is not true. In fact, Alys Rivers was not even the first woman at Harrenhal to be called a witch. Some people claim that Rhaena Targaryen was a witch, but if she was, then Mago the Cruel might not have gotten away with some of his crimes towards her and others. It is important to keep this in mind. Fire and Blood is an in-world book written by Archmaester Gyldain based on second-hand information at best. Alys Rivers might not have even been a witch, let alone Melisandre. With that said, the book wasn't actually written by Archmaester Gyldain. It was written by George R. R. Martin, and he threw in a number of clues that Alys Rivers was into green sight, fire magic, shadow binding, and possibly even the Azor Ahai prophecy. So let's go over them. No one knows how old Alys was or who her parents were, so her backstory was a mystery. Alys was last seen as the ruler of Harrenhal. The Hand of the King sent a small force there to reclaim it, but her men defeated them. Not long after, a disease known as the Winter Fever arrived at King's Landing, so they stopped worrying about Harrenhal. Archmaester Gyldain wrote nothing more about Alys. So what happened to her? Did she eventually die? Unfortunately, we don't know, so that's the framework. Both her backstory and her fate were unknown, which opens up the possibility that she was actually Melisandre all along. Grandmaster Mulligan claimed that Alys was a serving wench who dabbled in potions and spells. Septon Eustace claimed that she was a woods witch, and Mushroom believed that she bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth. So their opinions might differ, but all 3 of them allude to Alys dabbling in the dark arts and or the so-called powers of the old gods. Some people believe that Alys Rivers was younger than she looked, claiming that she bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her beauty. That type of magic has never been done, but it is possible to use glamour magic to look different. Melisandre does this on herself, and Melisandre has even done it on Mance Rayder and Rattleshirt. So it is possible that Alys used glamour on herself to appear younger than she actually was. Alys was said to have won the affection of Prince Aemon despite being at least twice his age, causing some to wonder if she had seduced him with the dark arts. There was also speculation that she seduced Sir Criston Cole as well. This is not a great clue, since people don't need magic to be seductive, but if Alys is Melisandre, then her power of seduction should come as no surprise. Alys told Lady Sabra the Frey that she had the dragon's bastard in her, that she could feel his fires licking at her womb. Now we are getting somewhere. That type of fire verbiage tracks well with Melisandre, but it's still not enough. When Sir Regis Groves went to Harrenhal to reclaim it from her, she raised her hand and Sir Regis began to scream and clutch his head until his skull burst apart. Alys might have just given a signal to someone with a crossbow or a sling, or she might have used some form of the dark art, such as a shadow. Later on, she sent a messenger to Lord Darry and warned him that if anyone laughed at her message, he would die. Someone did laugh, and the messenger did die. Supposedly, the imprints of a woman's fingers could be seen upon his skin, as if she had been in the room choking him. If that is true, it is pretty solid evidence that Alys Rivers was a shadow binder just like Melisandre. It's also worth noting that the messenger said that there was power in the stones of Harrenhal, and Alys had woken it, that she had a dragon. The bit about the dragon is weird. It might have been a reference to her child having Targaryen blood, or she might have created an illusion of a dragon. Let's put the details of that aside and think about the messenger's claims more holistically. The messenger said that there was power in the stones of Harrenhal, and Alys had woken it, that she had a dragon. That sounds very similar to Melisandre's desire to wake a dragon from stone. So there are reasons to believe that Alys Rivers was Melisandre. But let's look at some counter evidence. Melisandre chose to glamour herself with red hair in A Song of Ice and Fire, but Alys had black hair. So it raises the question, if Alys was Melisandre, then why did she choose black hair back then? You can make the argument that she just got bored of the black hair and changed her style over time, and you could make the argument that she had a reason to hide her ties to the Red God at the time. But when you have to start making up excuses, it might just mean that the theory is wrong. Here's another example. Aemon told Daemon that he was able to find him since Alys could see much and more through storm clouds, mountain pools, and fires. If that is true, then Alys looked into the flames and she also used green sight. But we have no record of Melisandre ever using green sight. I will play devil's advocate though. Daemon told Lord Moon to let it be known through all his lands that he was flying to Harrenhal. So Aemon's line about Alys seeing much and more does sound like something Melisandre would say, but it might have just been BS. Aemon might have just found out from someone in the Riverlands. With that said, he implied that she used both fire magic and green sight, and that does not align with Melisandre, who was team fire all the way. The last counterpoint is Alys's child. The legend of the messenger boy suggests that Alys created a shadow just like Melisandre has done. But Alys Rivers didn't just birth the shadow. Alys supposedly gave birth to Aemon's child. Since Fire and Blood is not a narrative type story, we don't know where that child came from, but if that child was real, and if that child was Alys and Aemon's, then Alys had a baby. That raises the question, how old was Melisandre back then, and could she even birth a real baby? We just don't know. So, is Melisandre in House of the Dragon? My head says no, she's not, but admittedly, my heart says yes. I do think it would be very cool if Alys Rivers turns out to be Melisandre, and it sort of makes sense. During the dance, Aemon had the largest living dragon in the known world. That would be a very useful weapon against the Great Other, and Melisandre might have convinced herself that Prince Aemon One-Eye was Azor Ahai.